he's somewhat normalizing. All he had to do was get his butthole fingered in Italy, and that kind of like changed him a little bit.
What?
Remember his new wife was like digging in his pants, just like Leo DiCaprio.
Wait, I thought you got those mixed up.
No,
There
they were on a boat together
Oh,
in Italy and
well, maybe that's
doing a little digging.
maybe that's the key.
Yes,
Maybe
the racism switch is inside the asshole.
The forbidden chakra.
And anyways, the article is mostly about how Adidas looked past a bunch of problematic behavior from Kanye for years, starting with the very first meeting because the deal was so lucrative. But that, of course, changed late last year with a breakup that cost both Kanye and Adidas a ton of money, following statements that included, "I can say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me. Now what?" Well, they dropped him about a week after that. So has Kanye learned from all this? Well, based on him filing a bunch of new trademarks last month with the word use, as in Jews, with the J replaced by a Y, probably not. Okay, so outward stuff seems like he's normal. Internally, though, he's still cooking.
He went back into the racism cave to cook up some new racism.
Yeah. Well, with a new album supposedly coming out very soon, which very soon in Kanye terms means probably in 2 years.
Well, he's already canceled 2 different listening party events for it.
Yeah.
At the very last minute.
2 more years, it'll be good.
Yeah, he's cooking.
He's doing a lot of that. He's coming up with new racist ideas. He's coming up with new music.
Yeah.
Anyways, with the promise of a new album,
Eventually, someday.
Kanye may once again be stepping into the spotlight. And what he says while under that spotlight is anyone's guess. But look, obviously talented music maker. Some of the greatest albums of all time, his early work. Recently, not great at all.
Yeah, it's been diminishing returns.
But wouldn't it be wild if Kanye came back and dropped the most, it won't happen, incredible album of all time? It won't happen.
The timing especially is like, he's been threatening a new album for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it's just could not be worse timing.
Yeah, exactly.
Kanye, this is not the time for you to reemerge.
Especially calling it something like the Use.
Yeah, use.
Yeah, it's all bad. Everyone stop listening to Kanye. His time has passed.
Yeah.
The less attention that everyone pays to him, the quicker he will.
There's a lot of good music out there.
Yeah, there sure is.
But moving on to a news topic that unfortunately is looking like less of an isolated incident and more like a concerning trend. Can airline pilots be trusted?
We don't know anymore.
Just a little over a week ago, we found out about an off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot entering the cockpit mid-flight to try and cut power to the plane's engines to make it crash, supposedly due to taking magic mushrooms and staying up for several days straight. And now we're getting news of another pilot at another airline doing something similarly absurd and dangerous in the middle of a packed flight. Pulling a gun in the cockpit and threatening to shoot the flight's captain.
Yeah, it seems pretty bad.
Although, to be clear, this apparently happened over a year ago. We're just now finding out about it. Very comforting to know.
Yeah.
Here's the Washington Post.
A former airline pilot was charged last month with interfering with a flight crew after U.S. Department of Transportation investigators said he used a gun and threatened to shoot the captain during an August 2022 flight. Jonathan J. Dunn, then a Delta Airlines pilot, used a dangerous weapon to assault and intimidate a member of the flight crew during the incident, according to an indictment filed October 18th in U.S. District Court in Utah. He is no longer employed with the airline, Delta said. It declined to comment further, including on any possible injury. Dunn threatened to shoot the captain multiple times if the flight was diverted in connection with a passenger's medical problem, according to the Transportation Department's Office of Inspector General, which said he is from California and provided no further details on the circumstances. He was allowed to carry a gun in the cockpit as part of a Transportation Security Administration program put in place in the years after the September 11th attacks. Under the Federal Flight Deck Officer Program, pilots can use guns to defend against an act of criminal violence and air piracy while attempting to gain control of an aircraft, according to the TSA, which said it covers the cost of the training and equipment.
So, someone on this flight was having a medical emergency serious enough that they needed to make an emergency landing to get their ass to a hospital. Sounds serious. And this pissed off Mr. Dunn enough that he threatened to kill the captain over it. He pulled a gun and he pointed at him and said, "No fucking way."
Who hasn't been in a scenario where you're on the highway You're making great time. And then all of a sudden, someone in the back.
Why didn't you pee at the last place?
Ah! There's nothing worse than making good time and having to pull off and waste all the minutes that you gained by speeding down the highway just because someone can't hold their bladder or is having a
Heart attack.
medical emergency.
So yeah, I mean, the obvious unanswered question here is why? What was he so excited to get to at the destination that he was willing to threaten physical violence?
I think it's just making good time, baby.
It's the principle of the matter.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that remains a mystery for now, but here's CBS News with a bit more on this guy. The two-page indictment obtained by CBS News Tuesday alleges that Dunn did assault and intimidate a crew member of an aircraft and did use a dangerous weapon in assaulting and intimidating the crew member.
But he said he was joking afterwards. No.
On Wednesday, multiple sources confirmed to CBS News that Dunn was also the plaintiff in an unsuccessful U.S. Supreme Court case last year in which, as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force, Dunn attempted to block the Air Force from disciplining him for refusing to take the mandatory COVID-19 vaccine on religious grounds.
Wow.
On April 2022, the High Court ruled against Dunn's request for a religious exemption by a 6-3 vote. Okay, yeah, I mean, still doesn't explain why this happened, but it certainly provides